Alright, hi there YouTube, it's me Morphsuit America, and in this video I'll be talking about Transcended main character skills. However, there will be two videos that will be released today. One of them will be me running through this chart and telling you the normal status, ultimate status, and transcended status of the actives and passives for every one of the main characters. Right now we have 7 main characters: Enchanter, Paladin, Archer, Priest, Mage, Rogue, and Warrior. If you want to view the video talking about the skill builds and stuff instead of, browsing through or watching this video that kind of explains everything, go ahead, look in the description below. There should be a video about skill builds and me going over them and explaining why people would go for this instead of this and this and this. So yeah, once again, this will be me reading this chart right here, and a big shout out to whoever decided to make this and translate all of this, cause yeah, it's a lot of fucking information. So let's get started. Alright, we're gonna start with the Enchanter main character. Know that when it comes to me reading this thing, the active skills are on the top row, the passive skills are on the second row, and then this first column over here just explains their normal abilities and what they can do. So for the Enchanter for the Enchanter main character's normal ability, she deals damage to one enemy or reduces self-skill cooldown by 10%. Let's go. I can't speak again. Oh my fucking god. This is why I don't wake up early in the morning for a recording. But putting that aside, let's talk about her active skills. Her first active skill is called Doll Summoner. Ah shit, I'm not gonna pronounce these names correctly. Okay, I think I know a solution to this. Hold on, guys. Because I'm terrible at pronouncing names, I'm just gonna have a picture of all 3 of these dolls. The main character Enchanter will summon one of these 3 dolls for her first active skill. Each one of these dolls have a special ability, or they kind of have a special row. So if you summon this one, for example, she will be able to attack all enemies. This one will be able to increase your piercing damage. And then this one will deal damage to one enemy or heals one ally. And it should be obvious because she's in a nurse outfit. So, if you decide to go to the ultimate skill of her first active ability, the damage of this doll will increase by 1820% to one enemy, and it also increases physical damage received by 38% and stuns the target for 5.8 seconds. This doll will deal 1840% damage to one enemy and increase its received magical damage by 38% for 5.8 seconds. And then lastly, this doll will deal 982% damage to one enemy and recover 45% damage dealt to all allies. And then if you decide to transcend her first active skill, this doll will increase its party melee damage by 35%. This one will increase its party range damage by 35%. And then this will decrease party receiving damage by 30%. And I don't need this picture anymore, and we'll move on to her other active skills. The main character's second active skill is called Soul Solidarity. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. But when it comes to this skill, it increases one allied summon attack by 60%, attack speed by 38%. Cooldown for this is 17.7 seconds, and I forgot to mention that if you have cooldown reductions, this is going to lower it down even further. But that's the normal status of her second active skill. If you decide to ultimate this skill, this increases all allied summons attack by 92%, attack speed by 45%. Buffed summons will deal additional 147% damage when they attack. Cooldown for this is 17.7 seconds. I have a question about her second active skill, and if you decide to transcend it or ultimate it. When it says increases all allied summons, is it just for the main character's summons, or is it everyone's, including like Margaret, Sasha, Ravengale, and Grayso, and Belle Snow, because you know they also summon a bunch of allies. Let me know in the comments below. And lastly, if you decide to transcend her second active skill, this increases all allied summons attack by 131%, attack speed by 55%, piercing damage by 480%. Buffed summons will deal additional 200% damage when they attack. Cooldown for this is 17.7 seconds. The Incanter's third ability is called Soul Destruction. At normal status, it deals 755% damage to all enemies. Cooldown for this is 14.9 seconds. At ultimate status, this deals 845% damage to all enemies and inflicts 6.1 seconds Spellwalker debuff. Enemies under Spellwalker debuff Enemies under Spellwalker debuff will be given another 302% damage every time they get hit. Cooldown for this is 14.9 seconds. And Transcended, this deals 947% damage to all enemies, additional 400% per enemy summons, and inflicts 7 seconds Spellwalker debuff. Enemies under Spellwalker debuff will be given another 394% damage every time they get hit. Cooldown for this is 14.9 seconds. Okay, so I have a question about the Transcended skill for this one, or the Transcended status for her third active skill. Apparently, they get an additional 400% per enemy summon. So I'm guessing that if you're fighting against a full Incanter team, this is going to hurt them pretty badly. Or if you get a fight against another Incanter of some sort, this will kind of give you an edge. And I feel like this is more of a PvP type of sorts. But yeah, let me know in the comments below if people should actually get the third active skill or the second active skill. When it comes to looking for skill builds for the Incanter, I haven't found anything good yet. So if you guys know about a decent build, let me know in the comments below. And number it by like active skill 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, or yeah. So if you're gonna suggest any skill builds, make sure you say active skills, whatever number it is, like 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 3, 2, 3, 2, no, 3, 1, 2, etc., etc. Then the same goes with the passive skills. Back on topic though, let's talk about the Incanter's passive skills. The Incanter's first passive skill is called Soul's Vow. Normal status, self-summon time is increased by 3 seconds. At ultimate status, self-summon time is increased by 3 seconds, and maximum summon number is now 2. Okay, so that means she can summon 2 dolls. And then lastly, at Transcended status, self-summon time is increased by 3 seconds, maximum summon number is now 2, and shares her own buffs with her summons. So pretty much this is more of this complements the first active skill. So if you decide to invest in this, you might want to consider in getting the first passive skill. Moving on to the second passive skill. At normal status, she increases self-intelligence plus 30% and self-summons attack plus 22%. At ultimate status, party encounters intelligence plus 35% and then party summons attack plus 28%. And at Transcended status, party encounters intelligence plus 35%, party summons attack plus 41%, Party encounters intelligence plus 10% per allied summon. And the second passive skill is called Soul Echo. And lastly, her last passive skill is called Doll's Gift. Normal status: if her summon is on the field, her receiving damage is reduced by 8%. At ultimate status, it states that if her summon is on the field, her receiving damage is reduced by 13%. And if you decide to transcend this passive skill, her receiving damage is reduced by 22%. Moving on, let's talk about the main Paladin character. For his normal attack, this decreases defense by 10% for 8 seconds. Moving on, his first active skill, there's no name for it, but at normal status, this deals 782% damage to all enemies. Cooldown for this is 16 seconds. If you ultimate this skill, this deals 864% damage to all enemies, and then it also stuns all enemies for 5.2 seconds. At Transcended status, this deals 982% damage to all enemies, stuns all enemies for 9 seconds, and increases damage done to enemies by 42%. For his second active skill, at normal status, this heals party for 374%. Cooldown for this is 17.9 seconds. At ultimate status, this heals party for 411% and also 90% party heal over 13.1 seconds. And lastly, at Transcended status, this heals party for 493%, 240% party 240% party heal over 13.1 seconds, and increases party damage by 38%. And lastly, his third active skill at normal status shields party with 280% of their attack for 12.6 seconds. Cooldown for this is 16.6 seconds. His ultimate status shields party with 324% of their attack for 12.6 seconds, and damage received by the shield is reduced by 13%. And lastly, at Transcended status shields party with 374% of their attack for 12.6 seconds. Damage received by the shield is reduced by 18% and grants immunity from debuffs. The Paladin's first passive skill at normal status increased skill attack of party by 7%. At ultimate status, this is increased by 20%. And then lastly, at Transcended status, the skill attack of party is increased to 35%, and also this increases the main character's Paladin skill attack by 7% per ally. Second passive skill at normal status increases party defense by 6%. At ultimate status, the party defense is increased to 15%, and at Transcended status, it's increased to 23%. Last passive skill for the Paladin. At normal status, this increased party attack by 20% in guild, occupation, and demolition. At ultimate status, this increases party attack by 44% in guild, occupation, and demolition. And then lastly, at Transcended status, the party attack is increased by 68% in guild, occupation, and demolition. The rogue's normal attack decreases defense by 10% for 8 seconds. This is similar to the Paladin, and I think there's some other characters that also have the same effects. Okay, so the Archer has the same ability. The Warrior has something different though. But moving on, let's talk about the Rogue's first active skill. This deals 1,517% damage to one enemy with 1,340% fixed damage. Cooldown for this is 10.8 seconds. But that's at normal status. At ultimate status, this deals 1610% damage to one enemy and 1428% fixed damage. Deals 2 times damage to boss types as well. And at Transcended status, this deals 1730% damage to one enemy and 1550% fixed damage. Also inflicts a bleed damage over time that deals 174% for 7.1 seconds, and then also deals 2 times damage to boss types. For the second active skill, at normal status, this increases attack speed by 40% for 13 seconds. Also increases attack by 8% for each attack on an enemy. Cooldown is 18 seconds. At ultimate status for the second active ability, this increases attack speed by 51% and attack by 40% for 13 seconds. Increases attack by 12% for each attack on an enemy. And lastly, at Transcended status, increases attack speed by 82%, attack by 60%, and evasion by 50% for 13 seconds. Also increases attack by 21% for each attack on an enemy. And lastly, the third active skill, at normal status, Stealth for 14 seconds. Increase critical rate by 105, defense penetration by 130, critical damage by 200. Cooldown for this is 19.4 seconds. At ultimate status, Stealth for 14 seconds. Immune to all debuffs and increases critical rate by 174, defense penetration by 182, critical damage by 300. And if you decide to transcend this ability, Stealth for 14 seconds, immune to all debuffs, detect stealth enemies, all attacks are critical hits, and increases defense penetration by 327, critical damage by 550. The Rogue's first passive skill, at normal status, deals 24% more damage to an enemy if it was just attacked by main character Rogue. At ultimate status, deals 42% more damage to an enemy if it was attacked by the main character Rogue. And at Transcended status, this deals 64% more damage to an enemy if it was attacked by main character Rogue. Second passive skill, at normal status, heals 17% damage done to the enemy, increases attack by 8%. Second passive skill, heals 23% damage done to the enemy, increases attack by 11%. And at Transcended status, heals 31% damage done to the enemy, increase attack by 16%. The last passive skill for the Rogue, at normal status, increase party dexterity by 20%. At ultimate status, you increase the party dexterity by 35%. And then lastly, at Transcended status, increases party dexterity by 55%, increases party dexterity by 10% per rogue in party. For the Priest main character, her normal attack heals an ally for 48% or deals 100% damage to an enemy. Her first active skill, at normal status, heals an ally for 740% or deals 1270% damage to an enemy. Cooldown for this is 8 seconds. At ultimate status, heals party for 761% or deals 742% damage to all enemies. Cooldown for this is 5.6 seconds. At Transcended status, heals party for 824% with 180% heal over time for 7 seconds. Or deals 855 damage to all enemies with 88% damage over time for 7 seconds. Second active skill, at normal status, for one ally, increases attack by 28% and attack speed by 22% for 6 seconds. Cooldown for this is 19.4 seconds. At ultimate status for the party, Increase its attack by 28% and attack speed by 22% for 13.4 seconds. And at Transcended status for the second ability, for the party, increase attack by 42%, attack speed by 38%, and stamina by 80% for 16.4 seconds. And the last active skill for the priest character, at normal status for one ally, cleanses all debuffs and increase defense by 35% for 7 seconds. Cooldown for this is 11 seconds. At ultimate status for the party, cleanses all debuffs and increases defense by 37% for 8 seconds. Grants immunity to debuffs for 5 seconds. Cooldown for this is 6.2 seconds. And at Transcended status for the party, cleanses all debuffs, grants immunity to debuffs, and increases defense by 56% for 8 seconds. Cooldown for this is 5.1 seconds. The priest's first active skill at normal status increases attack of helper allies by 38%. Note, summon allies do not count. At ultimate status, this increases attack of helper allies by 50%. And lastly, at Transcended status, increases attack of helper allies by 65%, increases self-attack by 50%. Second passive skill at normal status increases the party's major stats, strength, intelligence, dexterity by 18%. At ultimate status, this increases the party's major stats by 33%, and at Transcended status, this increases the party's party's major stats by 51%, and also increases the party's main stats by 10% for every ally in the party. The last passive skill for the healer at normal status increases the healing the party receives by 22%. At ultimate status, increases the healing the party receives by 38%, and at Transcended status, increases the healing the party receives by 55%, and increases healing by 6% per party member. The mage's normal attack increases self-intelligence. The mage's normal attack increases intelligence by 10%. Her first active skill at normal status deals 1595% damage to one enemy. Cooldown for this is 11.1 seconds. At ultimate status, deals 1755% damage to one enemy. If this skill hits critically, this skill cooldown is reset. And lastly, at Transcended status, deals 1970% damage to one enemy, increases enemy received magic damage by 45% for 7.2 seconds, and if the skill hits critical, this skill's cooldown is reset. For her second active skill, at normal status, deals 873% damage to all enemies. Cooldown for this is 16.7 seconds. At ultimate status, deals 960% damage to all enemies. Inflicts 176 damage every second for 5.9 seconds. And at Transcended status, this deals 1152% damage to all enemies. Inflicts 192% damage for every second for 5.9 seconds. And increases enemy received magic damage by 45%. And lastly, her last active skill at normal status deals 1544% damage to one enemy, turns the enemy into a sheep for 5.5 seconds, reducing defense by 33%. Cooldown for this is 21.4 seconds. At ultimate status, this deals 1699% damage to one enemy, turns the enemy into a sheep for 5.5 seconds, and reduce defense by 33%. And also has a chance to turn surrounding enemies into a sheep for 5.5 seconds. Cooldown for this is 16.6 seconds. And at Transcended status, deals 1870% damage to one enemy, and then it turns the enemy into a sheep for 5.8 seconds, reducing defense by 56%, and has a chance to turn surrounding enemies into sheeps for 5.8 seconds. Cooldown for this is 13.4 seconds. The Mage's first passive skill increases magic damage of party by 7%, and then at ultimate status this number changes to 20%, and then at Transcended status increases magic damage of party by 35%, and also increases magic damage of party by 7% per mage ally. Second passive skill, normal status, increases AoE damage of party by 7%. Ultimate status, this is increased to 20%, and then Transcended status 35%. The last passive skill for the Mage character, at normal status, increases party intelligence by 20%. At ultimate status, this is increased to 35%. And then at Transcended status, the party intelligence is 55%, and this also increases party intelligence by 10% per mage in party. Like the Paladin and the Rogue character, the Archer's normal attack decreases defense by 10% for 8 seconds. The Archer's first active skill, at normal status, deals 1582% damage to one enemy. Targets said enemy for 6.4 seconds, whom all allies will attack. Cooldown for this is 10 seconds. At ultimate status, this deals 1705% damage to one enemy. Targets said enemy for 6.4 seconds, whom all allies will attack and have 100% accuracy. And then at Transcended status, this deals 1920% damage to one enemy. Targets said enemy for 7.1 seconds, whom all allies will attack and have 100% accuracy and critical rate. Second active skill for the Archer, at normal status, deals 837% damage to all enemies. Cooldown for this is 14 seconds. At ultimate status, deals 1005% damage to all enemies and silences all enemies for 5.3 seconds. Then at Transcended status, this deals 1206% damage to all enemies, silences all enemies for 5.3 seconds, and removes all buffs before damage/silence. The last active skill for the Archer character, at normal status, places a trap in front of an ally for 15 seconds. When triggered, deals 1480% damage to the enemy. Cooldown for this is 15 seconds. At ultimate status, places a trap in front of an ally for 15 seconds. When triggered, deals 1670% damage and stuns them for 4 seconds to the enemy. And lastly, at Transcended status, places a trap in front of all allies. When triggered, deals 1860% damage and stuns them for 6 seconds to the enemy. The stun cannot be removed. The Archer's first passive skill, at normal status, upon entering the battlefield, boss damage is increased by 60% for 40 seconds. This can only be used once and cannot be reset. At ultimate status, upon entering the battlefield, boss damage is increased by 80% for 40 seconds, and this can only be used once and cannot be resetted. And then lastly, at Transcended status, upon entering the battlefield, boss damage is increased by 154% for 40 seconds for the entire party. This can only be used once and cannot be reset. The second passive skill for the Archer, at normal status, increases party dexterity by 20%. At ultimate status, this is increased to 35%, and then at Transcended status, this is increased to 55%, and it also increases party dexterity by 10% per Archer in the party. Lastly, the Archer's last passive skill. At normal status, this increases critical damage by 130 for entire party. Ultimate status, the critical damage is increased to 245 for entire party. And then lastly, at Transcended status, increases critical damage by 350 for entire party. For the warrior's normal attack, it has a chance to taunt an enemy for 7 seconds. Moving on, the first active skill for the warrior at normal status deals 1544% damage and removes all buffs of one enemy. Cooldown for this is 11.7 seconds. At ultimate status, deals 1699% damage and removes all buffs of one enemy. Inflicts death with a certain probability. At transcended status, deals 1923% damage and removes all buffs of one enemy. Excuse me, I had to burp. Moving on, inflicts death with a certain probability, and when an enemy is killed with this skill, cooldown is reset. Second active skill for the warrior, at normal status, deals 1543% damage and stuns one enemy for 4.1 seconds. Cooldown for this, 14.2 seconds. The ultimate status for this skill deals 1665% damage and stuns one enemy for 5.3 seconds. Reduces defense by 44%. And then at transcended status, deals 1870% damage and stuns one enemy 100% for 6.1 seconds. Increases damage received by 45%. Surrounding enemies are hit for 820% damage and stunned for 5 seconds. And then the last active skill decreases damage at normal status, decreases damage taken by 20%, taunts all enemies for 10 seconds. Cooldown for this is 18.4 seconds. At ultimate status, decreases damage taken by 27% and taunts all enemies for 6.6 seconds. And then at transcended status, reflects 50% damage taken to the attacker for 15.5 seconds. Reduces damage taken by 30%. Party reduces damage taken by 20%, reduces enemy defense by 58%, and taunts all enemies for 7 seconds. Okay, that was a mouthful for me. Moving on, first passive skill for the warrior, at normal status increases party physical damage by 20%, at ultimate status this is increased to 35%, and then at transcended status increases party physical attack of party by 35% and increases party physical attack by 7% per warrior in party. The second passive skill at normal status increases party stamina by 20%, and then at ultimate status this is increased to 35%, and then at transcended status this is 55%, but it will also increase party stamina by 10% per warrior in party. Lastly, the last passive skill for the warrior, at normal status if the damage taken would exceed 35% of HP, only 35% of the damage is taken. At ultimate status, if the damage taken would exceed 25% of HP, only 25% of the damage is taken. And then at transcended status, the damage taken would exceed 12% of HP, only 12% of the damage is taken. Ooh. God fucking damn, I did not expect this to be very long, but me reading all of these abilities took a long while. So that concludes this portion of the video, me giving you guys insight and reading off the translations of the Transcended main characters and their abilities. Alright, I decided to cut there because I just want to state this. If you're wondering who to level up first, it depends on who you want to level up, your skill builds, and your team comp. The reason why I say that it's very hard to figure out who to level up first is because, once again, this will depend on what you like doing. If you like doing a lot of world bosses and stuff, and depending on your team composition, you might want to level up the priest, you might want to level up the mage, you might want to level up the paladin, the archer, or maybe the warrior, because if you look at their passive skills, at least one of these passive skills will increase a certain stat if you have a certain ally. And yeah, pretty straightforward. Once you figure out who you want to level up, then go ahead and, you know, try to get to plus 15 and work on that character. Also work on the team comp and, you know, get the right build for your whatever mode you're doing. If you're looking for DPS though, maybe let's say you haven't farmed for the level 120 raid and you need a character just to dish out damage on the raid boss. A rogue, archer, and maybe a mage and warrior would be up there. I don't know about enchanters as much. You guys can tell me if the encanter main character is actually up there. I don't think she is, but I mean, she's alright. I like her, but she's not really grabbing my attention as much. I am planning to do a full encounter party and then base my skills around the second active skill and second passive skill, but yeah. I don't know what else to say about the encounter though. But pretty much, once again, if you're wondering who you should level up first, do some research when it comes to their abilities, figure out some good skill builds you should go after, look at what you currently have, look at what modes you like doing, and then pursue whatever you want to do, because once again, it seems like all of these main characters are very important. It's not like one of them would, I mean, maybe one exceeds better than the other, but they all have their own little perks, their own little quirks, and they do have some benefit if you do X, Y, and Z. So yeah, pretty much that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys want to get some pointers out as well, you can talk about it in the comments below. If you want to state your opinions about these abilities, then go ahead and do that as well, and etc, etc. Or maybe you guys have your own opinions when it comes to figuring out who you should level up first. And then you can leave that in the comments below as well. I was going to go on a huge talk about like the previous stream and how I wasn't exactly drunk, but I did get drunk in the beginning because I kind of chugged it out, but I didn't stay drunk because it was going away. So yeah, and I don't have a bad hangover when I woke up. So next time if I plan to do a drunk stream, I'm going to be chugging a lot of alcohol and try to get myself like drunk throughout the entire damn stream. It doesn't work if I drink it all in one go apparently. Or like it doesn't work if it isn't a lot of sake, because it was like a good amount, but it wasn't a whole bottle of it. It was like half of a bottle apparently. So yeah, I'll consider that, and hopefully Wi-Fi doesn't become a bitch, but I don't know. Apparently my Wi-Fi connection is crap lately. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys around. Peace.